You are listening to Chapter 8 of Twisted Morals, written and created by Jasper BlackLace and audio by Kawushi. Sage's POV. When I heard the door slam shut behind me, paired with multiple growls from the other side, I spun quickly to see Clem forcing the broken door shut with her entire body and frantically ran forward to help. With both our bodies slammed up against the door, we were much closer than normal, so visualizing her fear and thought process was much easier. We need a plan. We can't keep this up forever. So now would not be the best time to tell you you have very nice eyes. My quirky response was clearly unwanted as I received a slight jab to my ribs and a tisk sound. Ouch. Okay, message received. Any ideas? As I asked, looking down at her apologetically. We have one entrance and exit. We are currently trying to keep it shut. All we can do is force our way out, but before I came in here, I saw almost 10 of them out there, and we don't have that much ammo. Besides, the less noise, the better. Her defeated face made my heart sink. Seeing her so deflated made me very uncomfortable. I decided to look around the room and noticed the roof could be pushed up into the ceiling, making the roof an easy access point. It would get us off the ground, and if we were careful, we could drop down at the front exit undetected. The roof is made of loose tiles. We can climb through the roof if we're careful. Looks like all that clouded ego can come in handy, huh? She looked up at me, sweat dripping down her face and cheeks flushed, as every few seconds her body jolted forward into mine, making my skin heat and hands sweaty. Do you really have to jump at all chances to insult me, boss? I winked down at her playfully. Just returning the favor, sir. She grins at me and giggles softly, eyes tiredly scanning the room. The heaviest thing we have, aside from ourselves, is that set of lockers. You'll have to drag it over here and lean it under the doorknob. When you do that, keep the door shut, and I'll set up a makeshift staircase to the roof and jump up and look around. We'll either have to climb down near the exit or find a vent that leads to the rooftop. She gestures with her head to the lockers, causing me to let go of the door and rush to it. While dragging the lockers, I can hear each thud against the door and the groaning she lets out each thrust outward. Finally, I get the lockers to the door, leaning them downward to wedge the corner between the knob and the base of the door to keep it shut. I stand there, forcing the door shut even more as Clem grabs 4 sealed printer paper packages and 3 empty cardboard boxes. She stacks the paper under the boxes and uses them like a ladder towards the roof. The boxes decided to say no to this, however, so she couldn't quite reach it. She then decides to push up the tile with a broomstick and slide it to the right before using the stacks of paper to jump up and lift herself onto the roof. On the count of 3, do a running jump towards me and I'll help pull you up. You do realize I weigh like 200 pounds, right? Okay, and? She looked at me dumbfounded by my stupid remark before stretching her hand out and waving it at me. 1, 2, and 3... Go! I take a quick deep breath, then launch myself towards her hand and grab it tightly before she begins pulling me upward enough for me to grab the wood panels. As I get a hold of the wood, I hear the locker slamming to the ground and the door slams against the wall. This was followed by about 8 pairs of steps stampeding into the room and growls so loud I could hardly think. With the adrenaline now running through my veins, I lurch myself upward as Clem falls back onto the loose tile, creating a crack down the center. Fuck, man, that was close. I say, wiping the sweat from my forehead and glancing at Clem, who has moved herself to a support beam and uses it to stabilize herself safely as to not fall through the roof. You're telling me. She sighs loudly and hard before pulling her hair back into a messy bun. We have to get to that very grate at the end of the roof. If we can get there, it's easy access to the roof. We may have to break a fan, but I'm sure we'll be fine as long as it's not working right now. Considering the lack of power in here, I doubt it's running. I say, catching my breath as the affected people below reach up towards where I left from, trying to get a hold of my leg. At one point, they got my shoelace, but I got out pretty quickly as when I looked back, this one had no hands. Fair point. Let's get moving, and don't crawl directly on the tiles, or we're fucked. We both make our way forward toward the vent in silence, in hopes of not attracting them to follow us outside, as we still need to leave town. We reach the vent and use one of the metal bars to break it open and climb up further. Thankfully, the vent walls had ridges, so climbing up was relatively easy. We reached the end of the vent, and as expected, it was a fan that was no longer working. Clem took a metal bar and forced 3 blades off, sending them downward to the floor, leaving room for both of us to make it through. Looks like we made a bad choice. I rubbed the back of my neck after exiting the store and awaited an argument as usual. We both did. Even so, the guns will be useful, especially if we have no other choice. Let's climb down quickly and get moving. We're 30 minutes from the cabin, so we should get there before anything crazy happens. If we're gonna make it to your ex and your brother, we'll need those bikes as soon as possible. She glances over her shoulder at me and begins her descent to the ground. She looked up at me, waving me down. Once I was on the ground, she grabbed my wrist and began sprinting out of town. You have completed Chapter 8, Twisted Morals, written and created by Jasper BlackLace and audio by Kabushi. Just a reminder that there will be no upload to this or Path next week, as I am on vacation and Jasper's giving me that time off. Thank you for your understanding, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!